Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Odoo Live webinar for this week. I thank you all for joining us. It looks like there's a couple people still hopping on, but we're going to go ahead and get started today. I am in San Francisco. If you are here from somewhere else, please let us know in the chat. We're excited to have some of our partners all across the country and the world as well. So today we're going to be talking about how to create a partner proposal. This will be the last portion of the sales cycle, and I'm very excited to, kind of assist in creating these partner proposals with you, and hopefully closing some deals as well. So we will go ahead and get started now. Present my screen to everyone. We will be taking questions. I will take questions at the end, but if you think of any questions during the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat at any time, and then I will go through them all at the end once we get there. So once again, thank you for joining. My name is April Parsons. I am a channel account manager here at Odoo. What that means is I work with the partner team, so all of the partners who do the implementations across the world go through the channel team, which is myself and a few other people in the San Francisco office, as well as around the globe. So a few things about me and how I ended up here. I like live music, sports, painting, and SaaS products. And I realized through all of these things, I could utilize different SaaS products to get more in line with them. So for example, with baseball, I don't just have to watch, I can also, put the stats in a SQL product, or with painting, I can also put those online and use a couple of different programs to create interactive artwork. And so that's kind of how I ended up at Odoo. We have a couple dozen out of the box applications, and then so many applications that were built by our community that I'm always learning and always getting a chance to create these integrated products into one single platform. So today I'd like to go over how to create a winning proposal. So we're not just going to create a proposal, but we want one that's going to close deals. We want one that's going to beat out our competition. And we want these to be great proposals. So I'm very excited to go through this with you. So this is going to be our agenda for the day. The introduction, all the way down through the company snapshot, budget, documents. And these right here this is going to be like the main section of the proposals. So as we go through these, kind of think of them as different slides or areas in which you can create the proposal for. So for the value proposition all the way to the methodology, these will each be different areas that we're going to want to focus on when creating a proposal. So let's start at the very beginning. It's important to know why we need these proposals, right? So the first one is going to be the final phase of the sales cycle. At this point, if you've gotten to the proposal, this is kind of the yes or no at the very end, right? You've already done all of your qualification calls. You've done demos, or myself, I've done demos. We've assessed all of their needs, and we're pretty much at the end, and we should have all of the information needed in order to make this proposal. And this as well is going to be an alignment of the expectations. I'm sure a lot of you know, but if you don't, the BANT, which is the budget authority need and timeline, is kind of the basic building blocks of the sales cycle, and this should all come to fruition at this point in the sales cycle. So, I've definitely had a few partners at times not be able to relay the needs in an accurate manner, and they end up losing these opportunities because of the way that it is expressed within the proposal. So we want to make sure at this point we have a very good idea of their pain points, what they're looking for, and we've been able to write that out within the proposal. And thirdly, the value proposition. this is always a good time to come to your account manager. We're going to get into it a little bit more later, but you'll have the value prop for your company as well as the Odoo company. When these customers, they're going to potentially be looking at different partners and as well as different products in order to fix their issues. So you want to make sure why Odoo and that Odoo is able to beat out all of the competition, as well as why are you valuable as a partner and why should they choose you as opposed to any of the other partners within the ecosystem. So to start off, in order to do the company snapshot, I always suggest to do this in a concise way. So here's a couple of examples of things that I would particularly personally put in the beginning of the proposal: and about us, the number of clients you currently have, or the numbers of industries that you work in, the amount of projects rather, the local and regional coverage. So if you only do the Northeast, or if you have, developers across the country, are you able to travel to Canada? Do you, have language, the ability to speak different languages if that's something that they've requested, as well as any certifications. And you can see here on the side, we do have some of this information for you on your dashboard if you're a partner. So this is just a screenshot from one of our partners here. We can see they have 3 certified experts already on their team. They've personally sold 275 new users this year, and they've had 100% retention rate. So these are all statistics that are easily accessible to you as a partner, and you're able to go right into your dashboard and see these. So as an example of a quick Odoo snapshot, if I was going to create a proposal for a client, this is some of the information that I would put in. So we have our global presence along with the map if I'm sending an online version. You can see all of the different offices that we have. We would talk about the employees. Even since we've created this, it's increased. I think in 2019 we only had 800 employees, so we've doubled in roughly 2 years. Same thing with the users. We had 5 million in 2019, and now we have 7 million. So these are the exponential growth. If that's one of the value props that I'm trying to relay to the client, I have the actual statistics here to back it up. And a lot of you have these same things as well, right? If you've had, if you close that 100-person deal, put that on there. And then so as well as some of the other things like the applications, we have 30,000 applications. So if there's an issue and it can't be it can't be fixed by the out of the box, we have those applications through our app store that are able to facilitate any of those services that they might need. So we're going to get a little more in-depth through to the value proposition now. So this one's going to essentially be about Odoo. Like, when you're thinking about selling this, you need to remember that they are going to be looking for you as a partner, but why choose Odoo, right? There's tons of other applications out there. There's tons of other SaaS products, ERPs. Why should they choose us as opposed to SAP or a NetSuite or even some of these smaller, more organized or more specific SaaS products? So our mission has always been to be a fully integrated suite of applications. Fabian has made it one of his goals to be one of the most user-friendly, as well as one of the user-friendly, as well as in price points that are favorable to the customer, right? We're not going to cost as much as an SAP, and we're going to have a lot more functionality than a Shopify or HubSpot. And so when you're thinking about this, depending on the client, it's going to go 2 ways, right? There's going to be the clients that are looking at the larger SAPs and the NetSuites and what makes us more valuable compared to them. It's going to be the usability of our platform. It's going to be our price points. It's going to be the support and the customer base. And then on the inverse, you'll have people looking for very specialized, we want just this one, just one marketing platform, this one manufacturing platform. And in that case, you're able to download those one or two apps. And then as your company grows, as you have different avenues, or you know, get an HR or start renting some of your systems, you'll be able to easily integrate those as well. So these are a lot of the value propositions of Odoo that can be added into uh, the um, the partner proposals. So it's important to sell Odoo as much as it is to sell yourself. And again, your account manager, myself, if I'm your account manager, or anyone else on the team, you're always happy to write me directly, and you can write your account manager as well. They'll always be able to help you, explain the Odoo value propositions to your customers. So I'd like to go on now to the implementation methodology. So what we're looking at here is just how to create a successful project. So one example is, are the users trained in the committed time frame? Did you fulfill all of the, I guess, promises that you put within the proposal? And are your customers happy at the end? Um, and so one of the general overarching ideas is the project management structure. So whether you're using agile methodologies or Scrum, just as a couple examples, making sure that you're on the same page internally with what that looks like, as well as with the customer. So if you're going to be doing short sprints, they need to know that. Or if you're going to break it up in different building blocks, how are you going to manage the project? How is the customer going to manage the project on their end, and making sure that those two things align. And then also you want to make sure that you set expectations. I remember being in a partner um, proposal discussion where the partner had said it would take about 6 to 8 weeks to implement the entire proposal to the go live date. And we ended up losing this bid because they didn't think that, that was correct, and they didn't think that that time frame was necessarily feasible for all of the customizations that they were asking for, after they received a couple different proposals from other ERP systems. And we ultimately ended up losing that bid, because the expectations might not have been correct. So if it's going to take 6 months, then it's way better to put 6 months in there and it get done in 4.5 than it's going to be to do the inverse of that. But not just on the timeline, right? With how often are you going to be working with them? Who has vacations? When are those vacations going to be done? And at what point in the process is that break going to be taken? What is the pre and the post workflow going to look like? Are you going to be around for the support afterwards? And how much is that going to be? Um, and then after that, you also want to prove that you've done that successfully in the past, right? So if you've implemented a client and they're extremely happy and they wrote you a thank you email, ask them if you can take a screenshot and put it on your website as well. It'll be good for future clients just there, but also within the proposal itself, you want the ability to show that you have created successful projects before. And what better way to do that than the CEO of the company from your last implementation saying that it was a great project. So it's again a value proposition for you. So this is going to be one of the most important parts. It's going to be a lot easier to fix the problem if we have accurately identified the problem. So the first thing is going to just be the scope of the problem. This is what we call the pain points. So if you have identified all the pain points, I would suggest writing those in the proposal itself. So whether they're, using a WordPress website and trying to put it in Excel for their data and then going into QuickBooks for the accounting. If that's their current workflow and you know it's not working for them, and you're now going to be, building the website on the Odoo platform with an e-commerce using Google Sheets and then the invoicing and accounting apps, you want to kind of be able to move that workflow. You want to be able to lay out the current workflow that they have, um, and then be able to put the new workflow and how it's going to move into that new system. So again, like the project objectives, like is accounting the main one? Are we going to first do accounting and then move into the Excel or the website? Do they want to build out the website first and then add the e-commerce platform? What is the overarching goal of the project from the client side? Um, and then again, a timeline of work for when you're going to go live. So is this going to be done in sprints? Again, are people going to go on vacation, and at what point are you going to finish a certain development of an application? Do we plan on doing training for 2 weeks, or do you plan on them doing training on their own? All of this needs to be discussed in there. And then we'll move on to the implementation proposal. So there's a couple different ways to manage the project. Again, detail the scope of the project. So whether it's it's the PM that's doing it, the project manager, or is the developer team. And then also the Odoo licensing, which your account manager will be able to work with you on. Oh, sorry about that. And then So to make sure that you list all of the modules and the amount of users they're going to have now and in the future. Um, a lot of, I've seen it done two different ways, where sometimes partners will split up these scopes into two sections, and a lot of them will do a joint integrated proposal with them. Um, but as far as the licensing goes, you need to definitely talk to your account manager. Um, because they're going to know a lot of different ways that you can, add different apps. There might be a different way to create the program, um, as well as potentially getting success packs for the consultants as well. So you can be able to have the developers on their side, um, which kind of goes into this as well. So if you're using the Odoo success packs, you want to make sure that they're on the team page as well as the partners and the client side as well. So whenever you're thinking about the list of people that are going to be working on the project, you want to make sure that everyone's in there with their qualifications as well as who the single point of contact is going to be. Um, it might make sense to you that you are the CEO or the PM, and the assumption is that you've done a couple of the demos and you'll be the one that will be the single point of contact for the client. But to make sure that that's in writing is going to be really important, because you never know. You don't want to get to the point where you have somebody randomly writing a developer who's not responding to them. Um, and as well as the client stakeholders as well, right? The person that you've been doing all the demos with might not be the person that's going to take on the project management role from their side. So making sure you have those, as well as the Odoo account manager. I know a lot of partners like to have the control of the project essentially, which that is your job, and your role is to be the project manager of that. But we're always here as a resource, and if at any point you're not able to answer the questions, um, the account manager is always here, as well as the consultant if you have purchased a partner success pack, to um, give them that direct access to the consultant, as well as just the Odoo information. We have, you know, live support in 4 of our offices now. So San Francisco, Buffalo, India, and Belgium all have live support. So if they ever need anything, and if you ever need anything from the partner side as well, that support system is there and able to talk right away. So you also want to go into the project planning and milestones. So this is kind of what we talked about. Is the kickoff going to be in 2 weeks? Is the scope or the gap analysis, do we think it's going to take a week or do we think it's going to take 3 weeks? How long do we think the configurations and the development are going to be? How long do we think the implementation is going to take once everything is developed? Are we going to do it by applications? Are we going to push everybody live at the same time? And then same thing with the training. Is it all going to be virtual training? Is your team going to train their team? Are they going to have a train the trainer setup where you do one-on-ones with somebody from their side? Are you going to go to their office and do face-to-face, or are you just going to send them to the e-learning platform that we've created and show them all the videos? There's a wide range of how this training is going to go, but it's really important to make sure that you have a good defined understanding between yourself and the client of how this is going to work, because you don't want to implement something and then at the very end them say, oh wow, okay, so when are you going to train us on all of these apps? And you say, well, I'm not an accountant, I can't do it. So making sure that you have all the subject matter experts in place and knowing whether they need to do the trainings or not. And then the same thing with the support, right? Afterwards, are you going to stay on as in like a retainer? Are you going to offer them a certain amount of hours for per week or per month for X amount of time? Are you going to be there with them in perpetuity? So giving them an understanding of what the support looks like from the partner side after the project is live is something that should be scoped out within the proposal as well. Um, and then if there's just anything that wasn't covered in all of that scope, but you think is still important, I would put these in here as well. The clients, there's never too much information that you can give them in terms of how your workflow and your processes are going to go. So if it's certain documents or the per diems, um, certain apps that you plan on building out for them in the future, any details that you can think of, just add to the last bit of the proposal. And then so here's an example of one of the workflows that Odoo uses, which is kind of what we just talked about. In this case, we would make sure that we have the steering committee well documented within the proposal before we get to the point where we're doing the implementation of it. So doing the ROI gap analysis, the project kickoff, and then breaking it out into phases. So in this case, we'll train them on phase 1 before we train them on phase 2, before we train them on phase 3. Um, and this implementation methodology this is where this graphic came from. And it's a resource that's online. It is free and available to you. If you haven't read it and you're one of the new partners, or if you just want a refresher, I would highly recommend reading it to everyone. If you can't find it online, send me an email or send your AM an email. I will be happy to send you over the methodology guide. So one of the most important parts, if not the most important part, is going to be the budget. So the Odoo licenses, I definitely sometimes have some partners that will just sign up for the licenses online. I will have never, talked to the client, and they'll just send it over, and that is great. But there's a lot of things that your account manager can do to assist in the sales process. So it's really, really important to make sure that you bring them in at the very least at the licensing phase. So, one of a few of the ways that we can help increase revenue from your end is the user discounts on the first purchase. So if they get any users that they purchase on the first time, have that discount in perpetuity. If they re-sign 10 different times, that discount is always going to be there. So we oftentimes will have clients say, hey, we want to do 10 users now and jump to 40 users in 3 months while we're getting everything set up. But oftentimes we find that that's not actually financially beneficial for the client. So you want to make sure that we can, talk it out and do some of the math. Same thing with the multi-year discounts. Always, if you think that it's going to be a lot of customizations, if you know they're going to have a lot of users, and an ERP system is like a marriage, is what we always say. So it's a lot of time and money to get divorced after a single year. So a lot of them are going to be ending up with Odoo in a multi-year subscription anyways. Um, and so your AMs are going to be able to create beautiful Excel sheets that will show all of the discounts through the different years, up to 5 years. It'll show the percentages, the different amounts, and then we can also give varying discounts based on the amount of users and the amount of years as well. And it's going to be a lot more money for you as well, right? And then the last thing is the OH. We've definitely had a few partners come to us and say, hey, I really want this client. I think I'm going to lose them. Is there anything that we can do? What are some of my options for closing this deal? And you can give the commission that you would get on the Odoo SH essentially to the client. So instead of getting the commission, the discount would go to the client, and it is another tool for your toolbox to be able to close that when you know that they're on the fence but very close to saying yes and they just need that little push. Um, and so these are things that your AM will be excited and happy to talk to you about. So please feel free at any time to just call us, send us the proposal. We'll be happy to read through it, and go over some of these. We're, happy to get on calls as well. Um, so we'll go through these other two really quick. So the implementation partner, which is yourself, aside from the licensing, you want to have a good set of expectations for what the partner or for what the client is going to be paying for, right? So the number of hours, whether you're doing it by module, business flow, um, time frame, like both the regardless of which way that you're going to run through it, it needs to be in certain phases, right? So if it's an assumption of 40 hours for this module, or we expect it to be done in a month, the number of hours are there. Same thing with the training. Who's going to do the training? How many people from the partner side, and how many hours do you think that's going to be? These all have to be budgeted out, as well as the payment term. So what do we need to do to start? So the Odoo licensing is always, the go point. But are they going to pay you 15-20% after the first phase is done? Are you going to do all the work and let them pay at the end? There's an infinite amount of ways that you could set up your payment terms, but they need to be organized within the partner proposal before you get there. And then the last part is going to be the documentation. Um, so there's also, again, an infinite number of documents that may or may not need to be attached to the partner proposal. But if you've already signed a confidentiality agreement or a non-solicitation agreement, make sure that those are in there. If you're going to have expenses, if they're going to pay for you to fly out there and they're going to give per diems, make sure that those per diem forms are in there. If they're asking for the certifications or the CVs of certain employees, you can add those in there as well. And then the screenshot is again from the partner dashboard. So if you're ever looking for any of the legal documents on the Odoo side, you can find all of them on your partner dashboard as well. And again, if you can't find your AM, I have 1,001 documents, and I am happy to send any of them over to you. So just to give a quick conclusion of all of this, and I guess a few other points that I would like to make is one, make sure you've reread it and edited it because nothing is sadder than losing a proposal because the client doesn't trust you because you had a couple of misspelled words after you spent all that hard time on the proposal. And then making sure all of the fonts and font sizes are concurrent and aren't all over the place. I know, a lot of times we will create the proposal and then we'll copy and paste different parts to make sure that it's geared toward the person or the client that we're looking for. Just making sure that it's all concise and organized and grammatically correct is going to make a world of difference as well. And also send it to your AM. If we're at the part where we're sending a proposal out, that means that we're really close to closing a deal, and that is my favorite part of my job, is closing the deal. So I am 100% without a doubt happy to read through every single proposal that's going to go out. I am happy to read through other people's proposals as well if you're not on my partner team, but you're just a partner and want to reach out. I'm happy to take the load off of some of my coworkers and friends' job as well. And then the last thing on this slide that I didn't get to in the presentation, but is extremely, extremely important is make sure that you do the presentation in person. Do not just send an email with the proposal. Um, it might not make sense to go in person now if you haven't, been doing the sales cycle in person. Hopefully someday soon we'll get back there. But for now, set up a Google Meet with them or set up a Zoom and present your proposal that way so you can go through, clarify anything that might not make sense with them, um, give emphasis on places that may need it. And at the end of the day, making sure that you have a good understanding of what they think of the proposal, if any issues that they had, and you're able to make sure that you have next steps or whether they're going to sign the proposal the day that you give it to them, hopefully. Um, but again, just make sure that you do that in person. And I think that is about it for our partner proposal, right at 32 minutes. So I will go ahead now and take questions if there are any. Let me go ahead and look online really quick. I'll scroll through here. And I will actually move over while we're doing questions to this slide. So if you have any questions that don't get done here, you're welcome to send me an email or give me a call and I will answer them. Hello from SF in Orlando. Let me see here. So somebody asked, most of the projects we get involved having a strong content of integration and customizations, in fact, usually larger than the base system. What is your suggestion in those cases? Um, so I don't think that's uncommon. I think that one, we have upwards of 30,000 applications in our app store, and a lot of those were customizations that were built and the partner realized it was a really good resource and other people were asking for it, so they put them on there. Um, and I think you can also, if we're talking about costing it out, it's going to take a little more time to write that out, but just making sure that the partner has an understanding. If they need that many customizations, that's okay. Just don't put that it's only going to take 2 weeks if you know that it's going to take 2 to 3 months. And you can also phase it out as well. So if you know that the invoicing app is going to be a really highly customized application, start with the manufacturing or the inventory um, and get them going on the ones that might not need as much customization. So at that point, you should know the workflow of what they're looking for, and you can break it up into applications as well as specific customizations if you need. Yeah, and Lee is definitely correct. You don't want to get dragged down in technical debt. We do have our partner success packs. I'm always plugging them because they're amazing. But that is, they won't build the customizations for you, but they do act in a way as the architect um, who will make sure that you don't end up with that technical debt and you don't end up so far down a rabbit hole that it's, cost them too much to get out of or you too much to get out of. So they're, one of the, if not the best resource for being able to craft and prepare that workflow before you get in it. And I think that is the last question. If anyone has any questions they think of after this, you are welcome to, again, give me a call or an email. Um, I hope if you're a partner, you enjoyed this and found this valuable. And I hope if you're not a partner but are considering it or considering using Odoo, please reach out to me. I will direct you to the proper person. I will talk to you myself. And I hope that you also join us for our next live webinars, as well as our Odoo experience that is happening October 6th and 7th. It's free to everyone, and that's when Odoo 15 comes out, and it's going to be great. And I hope to see and hear from all of you very soon. Thank you so much for coming.